Welcome to In the Moment, the Mercyhealth's trauma preparedness episodes, where we dive into the critical world of trauma care and emergency preparedness. I'm Trent, an EMS instructor, and in each episode, we'll explore the essential strategies, insights, and innovations that help save lives when every second counts. Trauma can strike at any moment, whether it's a natural disaster, an accident, or a sudden medical emergency. Our team of experts here at Mercyhealth is dedicated to equipping healthcare professionals, first responders, and community members with the knowledge and tools that they need to respond effectively and efficiently. Join us as we discuss real-life stories, share best practices, and interview specialists who are at the forefront of trauma care. Together, we'll uncover how preparedness can make all the difference in those critical moments. So whether you're a healthcare professional, a community leader, or simply someone who wants to learn more about trauma preparedness, this podcast is for you. Let's get started. Hey guys, welcome back. It's In the Moment here in the TPC. I'm Trent, I'm your host, and today we're going to talk about something that's kind of just been on the surge the last couple of years, natural disasters. With like power outages, flooding in Texas. A couple years ago, they had the big power grid malfunctions. So we're just going to we're going to go a little bit different direction in talking about trauma preparedness today, and we're going to talk about just general preparedness overall. So we have Aaron Briggs, who's been kind of a regular with us. Semi-regular. He was the host of the last episode, so make sure you catch that. And then we have Kevin Olin today. He's one of our other instructors. So Kevin's new to the podcast, the first time out. It's his maiden voyage. So Kevin, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm retired from the Janesville Police Department, worked there for just about 30 years. Was 12 years on the SWAT team. I worked most of my career as a school resource officer and a car seat instructor yet. I still go to do classes and teach classes to certify people to install car seats, and I've been here since retirement, so about 3 years.
Okay. Kevin's also recently a grandpa.
Yes, Stella. Yep, she's just starting to walk with assistance, and anytime we get to see her, it's great.
She's wrapped around wrapped around her finger already. So.
Yes, she is.
We brought Kevin on today specifically because in our cadre here at the TPC, Kevin's kind of the prepared dad. So we felt like that was a fitting thing. So we're just going to get kind of jumping right into it, unless you guys have anything that you want to talk about.
Let's go.
All right, let's hop into it. So natural disasters are on the rise, whether it's tornadoes. Kevin actually lives in Evansville, and the last 2 years we've had tornadoes there.
Very close, yes.
We had, it hit Janesville pretty hard as well. Power outages can happen at any point. Whether that's due to like inclement weather or a natural disaster. Kevin brought up a good point while we were talking before the episode started. In the winter, right? Whether it's wind, knocking power lines down. So we've got some power outages, we've got tornadoes, we've got flooding that was really apparent in Texas within the last month or so. I think it was month and a half. Yeah. No. And then we're going to talk about just kind of what to do in case of a fire at home as well. So we're just going to jump right into it. So if there is a power outage, one of the things that you want to do, it kind of depends if you live in the city or in the rural area, but you want to be a little more prepared living in the rural area. But some just general guidelines. If there's a massive power outage, right, we want to make sure we unplug all of our stuff. That way we're not getting a power surge.
Or have surge protectors.
Yeah, surge protectors are a good thing.
Installed.
Yeah.
But am I wrong in the ones you buy at Target are not surge protectors?
Yeah, it's just like an accelerator. It's just like a bigger, like power strip more than anything.
Yeah.
I think it actually has to list like that it's a surge protector on it.
And those are way more expensive,
Yes.
right?
They're usually
So
more
you're not buying the $7
Correct.
power strip at Target
You're
with
spend some money.
Yeah.
Most people, I feel like are not going to spend that money unless, it's like a tech person where they've got a lot of money invested into their equipment. But it's definitely something to be prepared about. Alternative lighting sources. So most people, this is something that I don't think a lot of people have, flashlights in their nightstands. if you think about in the middle of the night, if power goes out, are you going to be able to navigate your house? You
Correct.
think?
So, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Here's my criteria for being a home and not a house. If I can walk around my house without bumping my toes on anything or my hip on the countertop, then it's home. So do I need that flashlight right next to the bed?
I still think you do. I think it's...
Could you walk around your house in the pitch dark?
I'd like to think I could, but I guess I haven't done it, you know.
I think you're right, as you probably know your way around your house pretty well, but you're still going to want a light to function.
Yeah.
So if it's not next to your stand, at least know where to go, to go get it. But it's going to be a lot quicker and easier if it's near.
Handy.
Yeah.
Would you recommend the one on your cell phone, or would you recommend actually getting a battery-powered flashlight? Because I feel like a lot of people go, argue, well, I have my cell phone. Like, there's a flashlight on my cell phone now. Like, what would I need a flashlight for?
So in a natural disaster, though, how important is that battery life on your phone without power?
Yeah, it could be used temporarily, maybe to get you from point A to point B to get some better light source. But yeah, you're going to want to conserve your battery on your phone for emergencies.
Correct. That's on the...
Assuming there's a cell signal.
Correct. Yeah, that's on the list later on. But yeah, you're 100% right. For me personally, I just go on Amazon, and buy a good lumen flashlight, and I have it in my nightstand. And I guess for me, more so than anything, I don't go to my basement very often, but if I need to go down and check if something tripped, like on the breaker panel, I'm going to use my flashlight and I'll be able to navigate. It's at my basement. It's got the old cellar stairs, so they're 6 feet wide, so it gets kind of creepy.
And 90 degree
yeah,
angle.
It gets kind of creepy. So it's all right, I'm going to have a flashlight with me just in case. You could have so whether it's just a handheld battery operated flashlight or a headlamp, those work really well as well.
I have a couple of those, and they're a lot of rechargeable things that last really long. They're efficient.
And they're LED to use less energy.
Yep, absolutely.
So when you come back up the stairs with your flashlight, are you running up the stairs, or is it
usually, yeah.
just because of the childhood thing?
Yeah, I just for a long time. Okay, this is a great segue. For a long time, I didn't trust people that liked scary movies because it's I always ran up the stairs.
Yeah.
You never know what bad thing is. I'm 35 years old, and I'm, I
What's
still run
lurking
up
under the stairs?
Correct. No, 100% right. You can call me a wimp for saying that, but that's the God honest truth. So. I get upstairs as quickly as I possibly can. I lock that door, and then I keep all the bad stuff downstairs. Texas Chainsaw Massacre ruined that for
Freddy
me.
Cougar.
Yeah. So those are some good things to have. One thing that's free, matches and candles, right? You can illuminate a lot of area if it's a prolonged power outage with candles. So let's say you wake up and there's a power outage. There's some inclement weather, downed power lines. We want to stay away from those.
Yes.
Don't go out and touch those. That's really bad. You're going to have a heck of a ride if you do. Kevin, you live out in the country. Do you have a generator at all?
I do not have a generator. Or some people in the neighborhood, they have a generator on the outside of their house that kicks on when the power goes out. I have not invested in something like that. I know people have portable generators, and again, you want to make sure those are outside if you're running them and stuff like that. It's just, that's not an investment I have done yet.
Yeah, there's a pretty good financial commitment to it for not using it very often.
So my daughter lives in Florida. Hurricanes, right?
Yep.
People have generators down there just like the little Honda generators, just mainly for their fridge.
Oh, sure.
To keep food cold. It typically won't generate more electricity than to run a fridge, the compressor in a fridge. Yeah. But like you said, candles, flashlights, that stuff you could do on your own, but just have that generator because we're going to get into it, but food.
Yeah. The Honda generator is a good idea too, but just make sure that if you have that, you have an extension cord where you can plug that in and run it outside, because if you keep that inside, the combustion of it, carbon monoxide would be real bad.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about that, because I have been looking at generators.
Okay.
Obviously, they have the camping ones, they have, the different versions, and you're paying 300, 500, 1,000, 1,500, depending on like how many. I didn't know you can't keep that. Like, so if I bought a smaller generator, I'd have to keep it outside.
Are you looking at an engine one or like a solar one?
Yeah.
Not an engine one.
Okay.
Solar. I guess
Like a
I should-
Jackery?
Yeah, I guess I
Okay.
should have clarified.
That you can use inside.
Yeah, the solar ones you can use inside. If there's a combustion engine involved in it, yeah, the off gases of that actually running will create carbon monoxide, and you do not want that inside.
So think about running a lawnmower in your living room.
Oh yeah, that'd be horrible.
Kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
And you want to keep track of the wattage, what the
Correct.
output is on the generator versus what you want to run. And I've heard people that have ran generators like that, and it maybe powered the refrigerator for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Then they might power their freezer, but they can't do them at the same time. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something that you have to keep in mind.
Interesting.
So yeah, good things to take into consideration before you purchase one.
Is one better than the other?
I don't have any
Yeah.
experience with solar ones. And combustion engine ones, yeah, but 6 hours you're gonna have to need another tank of gas.
Yeah.
So
And they've come a long way with how noisy they are. Some of them you can hardly hear them run
Yeah.
just outside buildings.
So on the fire department, we have a like one of the little Honda ones on all of our engines or ladders, and we can run tools with it and whatnot, and it's really quiet, just like scene lighting.
Hondas are known to be quiet.
Yeah, they're very, very quiet. You could, if we had it in the corner right now running, it would maybe just like hum a little bit, but it wouldn't be overly obnoxious. You talked about, refrigerator, keeping your freezer, that's important, especially in Florida.
Here too.
Here too, exactly, especially, it's 80, it's going to be in the high 80s again later this week. But if that does happen, make sure that everything's closed. You try to keep it closed as long as you can, because you're going to retain a certain amount of cold, refrigerant as long as the door is closed. But obviously, that will escape the more you open your refrigerator or freezer. And then we kind of talked about the phone battery already, but that's important. Briggsy and I have had this conversation before. If my phone is under 50%, I'm looking for a charger.
Panicked.
Yeah, right. I don't have one of the external chargers, and
I have an
right?
external charger that would probably recharge my phone from 0 to 100. I think it's 2 to 4 times.
Oh,
I think that's what mine is too.
yeah. So I don't have one of those. That's on the docket to get, but that's one of the things to keep in mind. If it is a natural disaster and there's it's a whole other thing if there's no cell service, but if there is cell service, that's going to be a lifeline, right?
Yes.
So you want to keep that, you want to conserve that battery as much as you can. So that's really kind of the power outages. Do you guys
Assuming that there is cell service. Evansville, during the first tornado, they lost the cell towers were damaged.
Yeah,
True,
some
but your
areas.
your battery or your flashlight on your phone would still work.
Yeah.
So what happens if the cell towers go down?
You have no cell service.
It kind of depends. If you have an iPhone and you can go into SOS mode and you can operate off a satellite then.
Can you? I'm in SOS mode right now.
Yeah, so if for me, driving on the interstate or whatever, if you go through a dead spot and you don't have any cell service, you're in SOS mode, up at the top of the screen it always prompts, do you want to go into satellite messaging? So you can still send messages, and it
Did not know that.
you can do that. The other thing too that's important, just to keep in mind, if there isn't cell service with the iPhone, like emergencies, you can hit the emergency button and it'll still alert off of a satellite. So
Right.
Here's another one.
yeah,
Long range walkie-talkies. Are you for or against them? Would that be something that you would recommend having? Because I'm also looking at those too.
I've read really good things on some of them, but they're pretty pricey. And from what I understand, they also work off of cell towers. I thought at least one of the brands I was looking at, because I had heard that and I thought, well, that'd be kind of cool because you can talk coast to coast and stuff like that. But I thought the one that I had looked at, just to do a little bit of a research, they were still using some cell signals for that.
Okay.
Like the Nextel phones?
I can't remember the brand, but it was using
Like that
It's kind of like
concept?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at just like long range hunting or like 100-mile radius walkie.
Who's going to have your other one? You're just going to talk to yourself.
My family.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
my
that-
mom would have one, my dad would have one, and I would have one.
I don't know enough about them to confirm or deny that, but that is a good point to think about, at least, because that is another form of communication. Because I think some of them go off of like cell signals, and then some of them go off just like the old true traditional like analog signals.
Yes.
You know, you look at like even when like digital communication is down, like what's the tapping? Morse code, right?
code.
A low frequency radio wave will still get through. So I don't know. I think that's something to definitely take into consideration when you're looking at purchasing them.
Would you need an FCC license for that then?
Not those, I don't think. I'm not 100% positive. I know when you had those talk about radios, if you read the instructions,
Exactly.
there were certain channels you shouldn't be operating on because those were designated.
That nobody paid attention to?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All really good things. I think that'll kind of lead us into the next natural disaster, which would be tornadoes. So this is kind of the common sense aspect, but if there's a tornado, what do we want to do right away?
Go out and look, take pictures.
Correct. If you're in Wisconsin, that's the first thing. Tornado warning comes on. Oh, it's not that bad. I'm going to go out, sit in my garage, have a beer, watch the storm, right? But if there's a true tornado warning, we want to seek shelter immediately. The lowest level of your house is going to be the safest. So if you have a basement, that's preferred. Stay away from the windows.
What if you don't have a basement?
Then you want to go to the lowest level room in your house, interior wall that doesn't have any window access. So, and if you don't have that, let's say you're driving around, you know, like when you guys are on patrol, right? If there's a tornado, most people are going to want to stay in their cars. Well, that's really bad.
Bad idea.
So if you're out driving around and all of a sudden you see a tornado, you want to evacuate that vehicle. You want to try to find a ditch, get as low as you possibly can, cover your face, and if you can't do that, then just find the lowest area that you can and just make yourself as low as possible.
So we were talking about this before the show about overpasses, and the general rule is don't crawl up under an overpass.
So I think never say never, never say always, right?
Right.
Like if that's what you have to do, try to find the up in the highest corner that you can, face down, and just the only thing is you're not going to have anything to hold on to there. But I feel like what most people do is they just drive under the overpass and they feel like they're safe there, and then that just creates a wind tunnel.
Yeah, the wind is forced in that small area. Even though it appears big, it's going to be
Correct.
coming through there pretty quick.
Correct. But yeah, if you can find a spot, like let's say, like look at like for whatever reason, if an overpass had like a door cut out into it, obviously try to find up high.
Like up by the girders where the
Correct.
the upper level meets the grade.
Yeah, that would be kind of, I mean, if you had to, that would be the safest place, but it's not ideal.
Because that's what you always see on TV, right? Weather Channel and all that stuff. It's like people parking and running up into the...
Yeah, I think they did that in Twister, the new Twister movie as well. And then, and he just flew away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tornadoes are bad, but that's something that's happened here in Wisconsin now. Over the last couple of years, there were a couple in Evansville, obviously the one in Janesville. Barneveld had the one back in the 90s, right? Like 94.
80s.
Sorry.
86 or 7, I think it was.
Yeah, it was before my time.
No, it was 83. So it was the year before I started high school.
Okay. And then I think within the last 6 months or so, they were like smaller ones, but there were like 5 that touched down northwest of like Madison.
Yeah, there was a bunch that had gone through in that one storm system, and the other thing that, nowadays with the technology, with phones and that, if you have the apps where you can have, whether it's YouTube TV or you have access to turn on your local weather channel, because they're pretty accurate in giving the pinpoint locations to where the system is when it's going to arrive in your area. Not that should give you leeway to go outside and watch the storm, but it's just going to give you up-to-date information if you have access to that. Especially if your power goes out and you don't have your TV, you might be able to, open it up on your phone just to get that up-to-date information.
Yeah, I think the common theme for today is having a good, reliable cell phone with a fully charged battery is going to be a good tool to have in case of an emergency. So we're talking about floods as well. One of the biggest misconceptions, and I'm sure you guys have seen this or saw this in your patrol careers, if there's standing flood water, what do people try to do?
Drive through it.
Drive through it.
Because I only know this way to get home.
Correct. That's terrible to do because you never know, one, how deep that water is. You never know how fast that current
Or
is.
what's in the water.
Correct. Yeah, there could be a down power line, a lot of different hazards.
And the water washes out a lot of stuff, and it may not look that deep compared to where the road is, but part of the road is washed out. You drop down in, and then people also have to think, if you get stuck and your car gets submerged, very easily could be totaled, and insurance companies won't cover that a lot of times.
Yeah. That's a good point. It's not something I thought about initially, but yeah, you're spot on.
If you
Turn around.
Yeah.
The thing that comes to mind for me is, remember Palmer Park?
Oh yes, that always
Every hard rainfall that would flood right next to the playground, was it Camden Park?
Yep.
And then across the road.
The other place was Kennedy Road out by Fire Station 5.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
After a hard downpour, I got called out there because then when the water receded, there was 7 different license plates that, it got ripped off of cars or broke off, and people had no clue that they were broke off. It's not worth the risk.
I agree. And, we're talking about the city, but now you look in the rural setting, because how many, like in Broadhead, there's roads, Decatur Road.
Yes.
That bridge is not very large or not very high, so that can get washed out real quick. You might think, I can still see the side railings. I can do that. Drive over it, and maybe the infrastructure of the bridge failed. Next thing you know, you're in a river, and it's a real bad day.
Think of how powerful water is, or can be.
Correct. And so that's, if you're in a car, you don't want to approach standing water, but you want to seek high ground immediately. Stay out of the standing water if able. If you're in a house, what do you guys think about turning off your breaker panel?
I would say turning off your power so that, and you may not ever lose power, but if anything were to short circuit, at least with everything off, you might save some appliances and save a lot of your electronics in your house from shorting out and being ruined.
Because from like a homeowner standpoint, like your homeowner's insurance, a lot of places, sometimes flooding, like water damage isn't covered under that, correct?
Depending on where you live.
Yeah. If you live in a floodplain, obviously it's going to be more expensive.
Sure.
And it all depends. You've had, like our sub pump failed one time and our basement flooded, and if you don't have that in your policy, that's not covered. So turning off that breaker is going to help and that could also prevent a short circuit and then starting a fire.
Yep. Which leads us into our next thing, fire safety at home. Briggsy, what's the one thing you should do when you go to sleep at night?
Apparently it's close your bedroom door, which I do not do.
That's very true. We'll get into some other things in regards to fire safety, but in all honesty, if you don't sleep with your door closed, that's something that you should do because it'll limit the flow path. Before the podcast, we were looking at pictures and got into a pretty fun conversation.
Which is how I ended up here.
Correct. 1,000%. And KO brought up a good point. It's going to limit the flow path. So a lot of the times you'll see pictures on the internet of someone that had their bedroom door closed, and in that hallway leading up to it, it's all charred, and then you open that door and the bedroom's okay.
It looks untouched.
Yeah,
almost.
Yeah. It's just the power of the flow path and oxygen, or fire wants to go into the area of least resistance. So if you have a door there, it's going to stop the flow path for that fire, and it can help us bide some time. Because what happens in fires, like you look at fatal fires, and a lot of the times it's from smoke inhalation. So if you keep that door closed, I'm not going to say that you won't get a little bit of smoke underneath it, but it's going to be a lot less than it would if your door is open. So in regards to that, if your door's closed and all of a sudden you hear fire, your smoke detector's going off, which everyone should have a smoke detector in every floor of their house and outside main living areas. You should change those batteries twice a year at daylight savings time. Whether it's a hardwired unit, most of the newer ones now have battery backups. So we still want to put those batteries in there and change those. That way it's just a fail safe.
Let me ask you this one.
Yeah.
Does it, because I sleep with my door open, does it matter if it's a hollow core door or a solid wood door?
It really doesn't. Even a hollow core door, and this is going off of memory, but under direct flame impingement, it'll still hold up for like 5 minutes.
So closing my door buys me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So obviously a good wooden door is gonna buy you more time, but yeah, the 5 to 10 minutes. And it's been a long time since I went through Fire One, but the 5 to 10 minutes is sticking out to me. So you wake up in the middle of the night and all of a sudden you hear your smoke detector going off. First thing you want to do is you wake up, you want to open that door, right?
To investigate.
Correct. Before you do that, you want to check that door for heat. So the back of your hand, like we did in fire prevention when we were little kids, you don't want to grab that knob because that's metal. It's going to be a conductor of heat. It could be very painful for you. Take a blanket, stuff it under your door, and if you can't get out of the hall, or if you can't get out for your primary egress point, like through the front door, then you'd want to get out a window. So if you're on a first floor, bust that window open, stuff something underneath the door to try to limit the smoke from coming in, and then evacuate. If you're on a second floor, I know when I was a kid, we lived in a 2-story Victorian. We had one of those ladders that you could just throw out the window. So we would do that, twice a year as a fire safety plan. Jess used it in a different setting. She snuck out of her house when she was a kid. So
I hope my parents are.
a lot of different uses.
Statute of limitations.
Okay, here I have another question.
Okay.
Okay, so I live in a condo, and I have upstairs neighbors. A woman, a single mom, and her 2 kids just moved in. Okay, so let's say, for example, I start to sleep with my door closed. There's a fire. I'm like, okay, I'm on the first floor, so I can just open up my window and I'm just popping right out the window.
Mm-hmm.
What, obviously, calling 911 is another first step to do, but should I then go and warn my neighbors that there's a fire in my, how would, because I wouldn't want them to continue sleeping.
So my question to you is there an exterior exposed stairway up to that second floor? So it's inside?
Are you apartment style where there's a long hotel?
It's condos. So I have a front door and a garage.
Yep.
She's got a front door, but it goes upstairs.
Okay.
And her garage is next to mine.
Sure.
So I don't have any access to her, and she doesn't have any access to me.
Okay.
But I hear them all the time, so I know that the floor is not there's not great insulation or protection. Would I be ringing the doorbell?
I would.
Yeah,
evacuate?
absolutely.
I have the same exact situation as you do, living in a condo with somebody above me, and I'd have to run around the front of the building,
Same, yeah.
but then I'm pounding on the door trying to get their attention.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I also have, I guess I would just ring everybody's door.
Yeah.
Because we're all in the same.
If it's safe
If
to do
it's safe for you to do.
Yeah.
1,000%.
And what does that mean, if it's safe for me?
Well, if there's open flames, I wouldn't go
Yeah.
jumping through flames or doing the hot coal walk to get there.
Okay.
Yes.
I'd have to go around, run around the whole building and
Yep.
ring everybody's front door.
Yeah. If it's safe to do, absolutely do that. That which actually leads me into the next point, especially if you have kids, so small, single family dwellings. We talked about having, a ladder in a second floor window, changing out the batteries twice a year. You should also have a home safety plan. So if you have kids at home, have a common meeting area. Teach them that, if let's say they feel their door okay, and it's a little hot, they're able to open it, but they don't see any fire, smoke rises, right? So most of the time, even in a fire, if you
And
get heat rises as well. So even in a fire, if you get down on the floor and you crawl, right, you're going to be able to be under that thermal layer, and you're not going to be in smoke. So if you're able to get out of a regular means of egress, like maybe out the front door, out the garage, whatever it might be, that's going to be the preferred method. But if you can't, then you need to go out a secondary means of egress. But you need to have some sort of fire safety plan in place, and then have a common meeting area out front. So for me, it was always our mailbox. So it was me, my mom, my dad, and my sister. You know, obviously if we're not going to go back in for a pet, but we knew that all four of us, if we got out to there, we knew all four of us were out. That's really important information for first arriving fire companies to understand, because we're going to risk a lot to save a lot. So if we know someone is in there, we're going to, obviously we're going to go in and put the fire, but it kind of changes our tactics immediately from fire suppression. Now we got to bump up
Saving the
search and
foundation.
rescue. Yeah, so that's a really good point.
Which leads me back to, you should know your house well enough to crawl around in the dark.
You should, 1,000%. So, like I said, that was always something. My dad's a volunteer fireman, and that was always something that we did. We had a fire safety plan, and we knew how to get out, and we drilled it, especially when we were little kids.
Did you have that?
Fire plan? Yes, we would know where to go, and that's the other thing is having your kids practice.
Mm-hmm.
Most windows you can open, and the hardest part is going to be how do you get out the screen. Some screens are easier to get out,
Mm-hmm.
but having them practice that to crawl out the windows, and again, if it's a first floor window, it's different. Than if it's a second story window, you definitely need that ladder. But yeah, you got to practice it so that you get familiar with it.
I feel like a terrible parent. Because I never talked about this with my kids or even practiced it. Or
I'm sure your kids were very aware of what to do if they ever had run
a stranger coming in the house.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, so I think it's just what you're more comfortable with, right? You were more prepared, and your kids were empowered in that regard. Yeah, so empowered. So those are really kind of the main highlights for power outages, tornadoes, flash floods, structure fires, some of those natural disasters that we get into.
The one thing I forgot to add, especially power outages in that, city versus rural, your water supply, we talked about that before the show too, is if you're on city water, you're probably going to have constant pressure. You're not going to have to worry about that. Where if you're out in a rural setting, you're working off a pump. If you don't have power, you're not pumping water. So what some people do, especially when they know in the wintertime, if an ice storm is coming and they're forecasting potential power outages, in the rural area you have a septic system. So you might want to have water on standby, not necessarily to drink, but to refill your main or upper level toilet bowl, so you could still flush the toilet and still use that, because it's not going to start the pump to bring water in the house. So having the water on hand to be able to use the toilets.
Correct.
How many gallons did you say, Kevin, are you supposed to have on hand?
For drinking water, it was a gallon a day per person.
Yep.
Also, fire extinguishers. When do they stop working? I've had mine for like 7 years.
So you can look on it. Is it just an ABC fire extinguisher? So a carbon? Yeah, I'm sure it probably.
Baby one.
Yeah, I'm sure it probably is. So you can look at it. As long as it might be expired, it probably is expired. But if it's still in the green, right? Even if it's expired, if it's in your house, if it's charged, you can still use it.
All right, well, I'll send you a photo.
Okay.
Do a lot of the home fire extinguishers have that dial on there?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
they
think
still
they all
should.
do.
They do?
Yeah,
Okay.
they still should.
Again, I don't own a fire extinguisher, so.
One on mine, so.
Yeah, they still should. That's just a normal. That's just normal for all fire.
So let's bring that up. And I don't mean to
No, you're good.
take longer with this, but at what point does a homeowner try the fire extinguisher to put a fire out, and at what point is this is too much for me, I need to evacuate?
That's a good question. I would say it's kind of a common sense standpoint. Like if,
I think a lot of people think I've got a fire extinguisher, I can put it out,
yeah,
which isn't always the case.
you can put out a lot of fire with a fire extinguisher, or at least get a good knockdown on it. But also take this into consideration. So your ABC extinguishers it's gonna kind of smother the fire, like with a CO2 extinguisher. That's gonna put a lot of dust in the air as well. So you're gonna have the smoke, you're gonna have the chemicals from the fire extinguisher. So it's not gonna be very easy to breathe, regardless. So I guess to answer your question, I would say if you feel safe enough to try to use it real quick, and then you're gonna know real quick if you have to get out or not. I know that's not a great answer. It's just kind of a common sense type of.
What are my limitations?
Correct, yeah. Common sense type of scenario. And I guess that is a good thing to bring up. So fire extinguisher safety, do we all know what the acronym is?
No, I don't remember it.
So it's PASS. Let's pull the pin, aim the nozzle, squeeze the trigger, and sweep the seat of the fire. So even if you see flames up here, you want to sweep, down at the base of it.
It doesn't like curl up and come back?
It will. So you want to get most of that fire out from the bottom, because how fire works. So if this table's burning right now and it was up against the wall, this table's going to burn first, and then it's going to start to go up the wall. So we'd want to put this out first, and then we could work our way up.
I wish I remembered the fire inspector that came out to service the fire extinguishers at the schools, because he also recommended, every now and again, it's a good idea to take your fire extinguishers and just tip them upside down to move the chemicals inside, just to make sure that they remained loose.
Absolutely. Yeah, because that is a good point. If your extinguisher is 7 years old, all that chemical is going to be at the bottom, right? So yeah, just to tip it and kind of remix it. But the most important thing is just to see if it's still charged. As with anything in life, if it's expired, it's expired. But in an emergency situation, if you need to use it,
And
better than
where
nothing.
Would you recycle that, or if it's not charged, or you won't just throw that in the trash, right? So.
Yeah, we usually contact ABC Fire Safety in Beloit, and you can usually just drop them off.
I took a lot of mine there that were discharged, and there's like an exchange that you can do for them. They won't recharge them for you, but they'll exchange them for another one.
Yeah, they have a stockpile with the new recruits. A couple weeks ago, we were going over fire extinguishers. I think we got 10 for the day, and we were talking car fires, cooking fires, stuff like that. And they had a stockpile. I kid you not, they had to have 200 to 300 fire extinguishers just inside. And all they do is they just release them, make sure they're uncharged, and then they put them in a bin and they just kind of throw them away, recycle them. So, yeah. I guess moving on, the only other thing that we're going to kind of talk about is like a disaster kit or like a first aid kit at home. So whether it's to have at home or to have in a car, I guess I'm a bad paramedic because I don't have a first aid kit in my car anymore. I used to, I don't right now. But we're talking about like bandages. You talked about Tylenol, ibuprofen. What else would you guys think?
Tourniquets, pressure dressings, gauze. I carry one in my truck, and I also have one in my hunting bag.
And that's kind of leading down to the trauma preparedness kit, which I like to think of as just a basic trauma first aid kit. And we have an example right here, which is what we have for our classes. It's called an IFAC, so an individual first aid kit. So these can be as simple or as detailed as you want. And no, we're good. We'll get it. There we go. All right, so Kevin was talking about some tourniquets. So we've got 2 tourniquets in here. We've got some gauze, 2 things of gauze, an emergency trauma dressing, which is essentially just an ACE wrap with gauze on the side or on the inside of it, and you'd put that over top and you could stop bleeding in that regard. We've got some chest seals, which would be for like a sucking chest wound, and then NPAs, which is a nasopharyngeal airway, which just a lot of I think this is a tool, like this is something that I think a lot of people should have in their car in general. Because if you come up to someone in a car accident and they're kind of nodding off, or unfortunately, the opiate epidemic, a lot of people overdose, right? You hear snoring respirations. Well, that means they're swallowing their tongue. So you can put this in their nose and it just keeps their tongue in place so they can have a patent airway. So I guess that's another thing. I carry Narcan in my car.
I think we're looking at this from a first responder perspective.
Sure.
Would the normal everyday person know how to put an NPA in?
No, I don't think so. And I think that's why
What we do is important.
Yeah, 1,000%. I think I was having that conversation with my girlfriend the other night. We were talking about, like CPR, right? People are, I shouldn't say there's everyone, but people aren't afraid to go and like learn how to do CPR, right? Because they see someone collapse and they're like, all right, I know I can pump on their chest, I can get blood flowing throughout their body, I give them a fighting chance.
And it's easy.
And it's easy, right? It's become a mainstream thing. And you look at, even in the civilian side, we talk about compression-only CPR. Just get on that chest and pump as long and hard as you can until advanced medical help gets there. I think just being prepared, knowing how to put a tourniquet on, knowing how to put a chest seal on, knowing how to do an emergency trauma dressing, knowing how to place an NPA, knowing how to use Narcan. Those are all things that are just going to allow us as first responders, but also civilians and just the layperson to be more prepared and empowered in those situations.
Because the reason I bring that up, us looking at it from a first responder perspective, I think if you're not familiar or know how to do these things or use these things, you're going to drive by.
Correct.
And what is that helping the victim? And what if this is a family member in that situation? Could this knowledge get you to react a different way than just putting the blinders on and driving by or not stopping?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think tying it back to what we do here, that's the thing that everyone always says. They feel empowered when they leave. If they have to act, now they have the knowledge to do so, and they're more likely to do so. Yeah, if you don't have the knowledge, you're going to be fearful of that. Oh, am I going to hurt that person? I don't know what to do. You're going to be more panicked. So you're just more prepared to go and act and hopefully help somebody.
Which is why I think we throw in that PACE methodology. What if I don't have a tourniquet in my car? What could I use as a tourniquet? I think that's, sometimes I think for certain groups of people that we instruct, I think that's just as, if not more important than having the commercial medical adjuncts.
I agree.
What could I use in place of that?
And sometimes people worry about liability, but with the Good Samaritan law, as long as you're not going beyond your scope, you're not doing a trach or anything like that, you're trying to do what a reasonable person would do, you're going to be covered under the Good Samaritan law too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great point. CPR, first aid, any lifeguard, anybody, like teachers, a lot of teachers have to do it. Coaches, have to learn how to use AEDs as well.
Personal trainers.
I mean, the list goes on and on. Yeah, you're 100% right. If you're at the gym and all of a sudden somebody's varicose vein explodes, and there's a lot of blood and yeah, you might have to put a tourniquet on. So understanding, one, how to put the commercial tourniquet on, but also understanding that PACE methodology.
I mean, to use my backpack.
To think outside the box and just give that person a fighting chance. Yeah, that's great stuff.
And where can civilians learn more information about taking our classes?
MercyEMS.org.
There we go. Yeah, we're very passionate about that down here. These guys are retired, so they like being busy. I like being busy as well. But no, on a lighter note, the more we love coming in and teaching these classes because we are passionate about it, and the more people we can help, the happier we're going to be. So.
And we don't want to put it out there as like, take this class because you're going to help a stranger. More often than not, you're going to be around a family member that has some sort of a medical emergency or crisis, and it's going to help you save a family member's life.
Correct.
Somebody from one of our CRAZE classes, one of our MCTC classes, Her son was field dressing a deer in the backyard, slit his arm open. She didn't have a commercial tourniquet, but she used a T-shirt or some type of material to stop that bleeding on her son,
Yeah.
to get him to medical care.
Yep. Yeah, that's, that's a great example. Whether it's in the backyard or, Kevin talked about hunting. Carry tourniquets, have a first aid kit, but also understanding to have that knowledge base on how to think outside the box and save a family member or a friend or a hunting buddy, whoever it may be.
Yes.
Any action is better than no action.
Correct.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that pretty well wraps it up. Do you guys have anything?
Nope.
No?
Not that I can think of.
No? Well, Kevin, we appreciate you coming on.
Thanks.
Briggsy, I know you weren't
Thanks for having me back.
prepared to come, but it's always a pleasure to have you as well. So, guys, please like this video, subscribe, share, get our message out there. Look for the next month's episode. We're going to continue to put these out, and as always, stay prepared and stay ready. See you later. Thank you for tuning into In the Moment with TPC. We hope today's episode left you feeling informed and inspired to take proactive steps in trauma care, preparedness, and resilience. Remember, every moment matters, and the knowledge we share today could make all the difference tomorrow. If you found this episode helpful, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with others who might benefit. For more resources and updates, visit us at mercyems.org. Until next time, stay safe, stay prepared, and as always, stay in the moment.